Hey, great to have you here. So today I'll be reviewing the movie Cabin in the Woods. Shout out to friend of the channel, Rusty Reels, who requested this one, and just FYI, I will be discussing some spoilers here in this review. So the high-level premise for this movie is we have 5 friends who intend to spend their vacation at a cabin in the woods that supposedly belongs to one of their cousins, but unbeknownst to them, they've actually just sealed their fate as they're meant to be served as these horror movie trope sacrifices to these beings called the Ancient Ones. And there's this entire top secret organization that conducts these rituals in order to appease the Ancient Ones, and if they don't, humanity will be doomed. Looking at some pros and cons for this movie, starting off with the pros, the first one is that the tongue-in-cheek comedy here hits so well, despite this movie on the surface coming across as purely horror. Marty in particular shines at delivering some really great one-liners. My second pro that I'll point out is that the creature design is spectacularly creative. We get to see so many kind of designs for monsters, spirits, and whatever else. And then my final pro that I'll point out here is how well Act 3 hits the mark. In particular, you have one of my all-time favorite horror moments with the opening elevator scene. Now looking at some of the cons, the first one I'll say is that the acting by some of the main group of kids isn't the strongest. I know they're going for tropes here, but for example, you have Chris Hemsworth, the jock of the group, who I assume is trying not to have an accent, but still slipping through. The second con that I'll say is that the middle of the film is somewhat weaker. From the moment of the friends heading out in their RV to until our first death, it wasn't as interesting in my recent watch. And my third con that I'll point out surprisingly comes from that third act. We have Sigourney Weaver as the director show up to kill the fool, but she doesn't bring any sort of weapon here. I know most of the movie pokes fun at horror tropes, but to me, this one can't really be excused. And now looking at some subscores before jumping into a final rating. Starting off with the plot, here I'll go with a 3 out of 5. For the most part, the 5 characters traveling to this isolated cabin plays out similarly to a lot of other horror movies, but the unique cult-like ritual purpose to things does earn some points here. For an entertainment score, I'm going to go with a 5 out of 5. The movie blends that comedy and horror so well, and that Act 3 carnage is unmatched by pretty much any other movie. For a gore score, I'll go with a 4 out of 5 here. There aren't really any long-standing scenes where someone's getting tortured or anything like that, but people get ripped to shreds in this movie, and blood is sprayed everywhere. For a scare score, I'm only going to say 2 out of 5. There are some tense moments in that basement of the cabin as things are being set up. We have some zombies pop out in pretty expected moments, so it's not really a movie I would consider scary. And for rewatchability, I'll go with a 4 out of 5. There are some things you could probably pick out on multiple watches as far as new information, plus that third act alone is worth rewatching. Not to mention the bike scene is always wild. So now for an overall rating, my score for Cabin in the Woods is going to be a 9 out of 10. While rewatching it, I was wavering between 8 and 10, depending on any given scene. I think it's a smart movie that knows what it's trying to do. It pokes fun at traditional horror movies, while also having some pretty creative layers beneath its surface. But those are just my thoughts. If you've seen the movie, what'd you think of it? Sound off on all things Cabin in the Woods down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to talk to you again soon.